Welcome back to The Comfy Chairs, a podcast from 123 Limited. This is Kate, your host. And we spend a great deal of time here talking about self-awareness and even leading with strengths. Strengths-based leadership extends beyond the self, though. Done well, it includes understanding and engaging your team's strengths, in addition to your own. John Dewey said to find out what one is fitted to do and to secure an opportunity to do it is the key to happiness. This is, in essence, the work of a strength-based leader and the best way to craft a successful team, connecting people to opportunities to do what they do well, which means that understanding what someone is fitted to do, what their strengths are, becomes an important part of the hiring process, as well as ongoing performance management and professional growth. This is a lesson that today's guest learned when facing hiring challenges in his optometry practice, and that led him to establish a company to help other doctors build their teams by focusing on strengths and key performance factors.
Thanks for having me today, Kate. I'm Dr. Mike Neal, practicing eye doctor and the founder of Build My Team. I'm also a father to two boys, 11 and 14, and I love to run. That's my passion, hobby, keeps me out of trouble, the whole works. It wasn't that I woke up on a Monday and said, boy, I got to use strengths in hiring. Nor did it happen on Tuesday or any other day of the week. What made this happen is that I was looking down the barrel of continuously hiring, finding out they didn't fit, then letting them go, and then hopping on that merry-go-round again.
Okay.
And so, that's not entirely accurate because I don't think I ever left the merry-go-round. That was the problem. It gets pretty dizzy when you just spin. But the point is that I was hiring using resumes for entry-level workers, and you will absolutely drown in chaos if you do that. Now, so maybe, listeners might be thinking, well, maybe he's just terrible at hiring. Find me somebody who's great with entry-level workers. The challenge is that a resume leads you down a path that really has nothing to do with the path you want to be on. They are, for entry level, they don't tell you much of anything. Folks who might have a couple line resume. Build My Team's all-time record is hiring somebody who had 4 lines on their resume.
Wow.
Including their address, 4 lines. Yeah.
Hey, you have to start somewhere. I think that's what people forget. It's entry-level jobs mean you're coming without experience.
Exactly. And what we ended up finding out is that you're better off for sticky, productive hires to find somebody who shows up for work, does what they're great at, goes home and doesn't think anything of it. Okay, so that's fine and all. Now what? How the heck do you find these people? And that's where the secret sauce came in.
Okay.
That's where studying how Disney did it. 4 Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, these massive high-end, extraordinarily spectacular service industries do their hiring. And what I found out, rather shockingly, is they do not hire the same way I've been hiring. They flip it. It's basically upside down. They're not using resumes until the person goes through an assessment process and they figure out if the person can do the job or not. That's generally how it goes with their high service positions. So then it got me thinking, well, okay, if they do it, and I've been to the 4 Seasons, lucky enough to go there several times. What it showed me is that this level of service can exist. Okay, flat out, bluntly, I had no idea that people could be treated that well. I didn't know that was a thing. And so I came home, opened my eyes to, wow, this exists. And flash forward years later, took a look at, after that event, but looked at how these companies were doing their hiring. And of course, they were doing it upside down. So was able to look at kind of how an assessment process works. Went to a couple trade shows, figured out that there's an entire industry based on this.
Yes,
And
there is.
I was so excited. I thought, wow, we can just buy one and we can use it at our healthcare practice, and all my problems will go poof, vanish into thin air. Well, that was naive to say the least. Um, Tried buying, like, basically paying for several of them. And what I found out is they are better than nothing, but didn't get us anywhere near where we wanted to go with these people. And in some cases, some of them were a little bit misleading. And we ended up going down a path that was the wrong path, but well-intentioned. So that led to, okay, we're going to have to build this. Took a look at, could we license? Could we do? There were a bunch of different options, but what it boiled down to is, imagine, you want to make music and you need an orchestra to make music. You can't just have one guy on a trumpet blowing his horn as loud as humanly possible. It doesn't make music; it just makes noise. You need you basically need a maestro up at the front. You need somebody who's going to bring each of these pieces together and have them play at the right time, have them play the right stuff at the right time, and basically orchestrate it all, hence the name. That's what we were able to build. And now, years later, oodles of hires later, we've got a system that will, it's a done-for-you service that will find these candidates. And it basically starts by us writing the job description. We find these candidates. Our software automatically sends all this information out to these candidates. They fill out the assessment very quickly. It's about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the person. And then our software tells us who would be great for the particular position.
Okay.
All automated. When we find these great people, and we gently let down almost all of the folks who apply for these jobs, okay? Then we send them a one-way video interview. They do the video interview, and that helps tell us who would be an outstanding candidate for the position. So you back up to 50,000 feet here, and you compare this to a regular hiring environment. Well, it's no wonder people hate hiring. Good grief. We have all of these tools that are spectacular, and we're still rejecting, depending on the position, 95, 97% of people.
Correct.
You contrast that to the interview process. How in the world do you know which of these inflated, inaccurate, mostly made up resumes you need to pick out of that magic pile using your Harry Potter magic wand to figure out who to interview?
The wand chooses the wizard. Yes.
Well, if only that were true, then you'd be all set. You wouldn't need a service like Build My Team. You'd have your magic wand kept in a case, in a safe in your office, protected at all costs. It doesn't work. And we have it down to a science at this point for entry-level positions, where we can tell our clients that they're going to be successful at an over 97% rate. They're going to stay for a multiple of the time that a regular candidate stays. It's pretty straightforward. They show up for work. They're being asked to be themselves. They excel in the position. They go home. They are satisfied with what they're doing. They're fulfilled with what they're doing, and they go home. And they come back the next day excited to do the same thing.
Which is what we want for everybody that works for us. I think at the end of the day, that's something that's really important to recognize. I have a bit of a burr in my saddle around the whole idea of, well, people just need to go above and beyond. And I think that's one of the mindsets that has contributed to what the hiring landscape is right now. That what we need is for people to do the job as written. And if that's not enough, you need to revisit the job description and rescope it and regrade it. But this idea that people need to be putting in every last effort, when really what we need is come in, do the job, be satisfied with what you've done, go home, and then come back and do it all again.
When you have a person who is able to show up for work and complete the workday as themselves, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And, a lot of senior execs have I won't say issue, but concerns about that. But remember, if you're a senior executive, chances are you got there because you're outstanding at your job. You know what you love, you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got a team of people doing what you're not good at, and you stay in what you're good at almost all day long. That's the definition of being a senior executive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think back to the days when you started out and you were asked to be a round peg in a square hole and be the best round peg you possibly can be, and the boss came along with a bigger hammer every day to pound that round peg into the square hole, that's what we're talking about. Those days are over for you as a senior executive, or you would never would have gotten there in the first place.
Correct.
But the asking people to be someone else when they show up for work is only okay in Hollywood and Broadway.
I love that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be, let's say, a secretary, and the last thing on earth you want to be is a secretary, I will guarantee you're never going to be an A player in that role.
No.
It's an impossibility.
No.
All you do is you show up for work wondering how you can get a different gig and get the heck out of this place all day long.
Yeah, 100%. And I do want to put in a little footnote, if you will, that sometimes people are in positions where they have to take a job that isn't well suited for them. We all have bills to pay.
Yeah.
Is what I'm fond of saying when an actor, speaking of, when somebody from Hollywood does something that you're like, wonder why they're doing that film. It's like, well, even stars have bills to pay. Right?
Exactly.
So sometimes people are going to find themselves in the secretarial role when it's soul crushing for them.
Yes.
And it's okay if we can help them as leaders and managers. Part of what you want to do is guide people to those better fit jobs where it's not soul crushing, but at least have the compassion for, this isn't a good fit right now. How do I still support you so that you can perform the job as needed?
Yes.
Yeah. Because those circumstances, what's not okay is to be like, well, I just don't like this job, so I'm not going to do the stuff. I am curious, and this is the organizational development nerd in me, if you've partnered with anyone with expertise in that sort of assessment creation, like industrial organizational psychologists, folks like me, and how have you, because we hear a lot with AI and other kind of algorithmic based tools right now, that there are concerns about bias creeping in.
Yeah.
How are you accounting for that, if you're able to?
Yeah. First of all, we most certainly have partnered. And bias, oh boy, we could do a series of podcasts based on this. Well, I'll start with a story.
Yeah.
We had a doctor in an aesthetically pleasing version of healthcare, we'll say. They were a client. They wanted to see all the video interviews. And what we found out, you know where I'm going with this, they were picking, let's describe these people as very aesthetically pleasing for their aesthetically pleasing version of healthcare.
Yes.
And you can't do that.
No.
So this happened to us. We had another person, we stopped working with that person. We, after some very intense descriptions of why it doesn't matter what you do in your practice, but the laws still apply to your practice.
Right. And we will not be part of that.
And by the way, here's what they are, and here's what you did, and we can't, we're done. So
thank you.
We've also had
doing that, by the way.
Yeah. We also had another client who described exactly who he wanted as a person in his practice. Exactly who he wanted. We were not talking about talents and strengths in any way for that. So we had that abruptly ended as well. We don't share the video interviews with the clients anymore. And as far as bias goes, it's fascinating. Our system removes it. We don't have a human look at the results of our searches until till the candidates get a magic thumbs up
Okay.
in our software. Okay. And at that point, we, our team will look at the candidate's information. We do check a resume at that point to see if they've had any experience. Well, the software categorically eliminates bias because a human's not looking at it until the decision's been made. And then as far as the video interviews, what you care about is how they're going to be in the role. And so what our team is looking for in these video interviews is simply how well they're going to represent the client.
I'm really curious about, and I have some ideas about how one goes about this, but I'd like to hear from your practice about identifying those key performance factors. You told me earlier you always start with the job description. That's obviously the starting place, but what is the process in looking at that description to say these are the things that actually matter that we want to have in our screening?
Yeah, most people don't read job descriptions. As an employer, it's really frustrating because you think, how's that even possible? But you're going to end up interviewing people who are sitting in front of you having never read your job description. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, it's crazy. So what we do with our screening process is the job description is essentially the first pass. And then from there, we lose a bunch of people who apply because they have no interest in taking any type of assessment.
Okay.
And early brand new clients are thinking, oh boy, that's bad. Oh my goodness, it's fantastic. Now, the ones that do start the assessment process, they get hooked. And the reason being is that when you're a really great candidate and you see an employer that is this particular about who they're bringing onto their team, it's like catnip.
Okay.
You are magnetically drawn to go through this and basically see if you make the cut.
So we've been talking about this kind of obliquely. What I'm curious about is creating consistency, because it's so important in hiring processes and in people leadership. As you were learning more about building your team, how did you go about establishing consistency in that practice so that all the effort doesn't feel like it's gone to waste when you get to the point of hire?
Well, we systematized it.
Okay.
Turned it into software that just did the same thing over and over and over again, repetitively. So it was a completely systematized approach. Of course, we tweaked it as we had feedback. I mean, we have a full feedback loop in place with our clients. And so this just gets better and better and better the more that it's used.
Yeah.
And getting that full hiring, I won't say rigid because it's not rigid, but an incredibly thorough, consistent hiring process in place. Well, shocker, it delivers incredibly thorough, consistent results that are predictable. And you can bank on this. And we do.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have these C and D players on your team, to kind of switch gears to that, one approach is to try and counsel them, help them, give them all these warm fuzzies to get them to do better. Look, I'm all for trying that, but I wouldn't try it twice. If a person is simply not performing on your team, and you make sure there's no external variables, their dog died or some awful thing, or they're sick or who knows what, right? Like, let's be human here, right? You have to be human first. If that stuff isn't in play, then the next thing you look at is whether or not this person is really a good fit for the position to begin with. And if that isn't a strong heck yes, then it's time to help them find a position that they are a great fit at. And whether you think so or not, the bottom line is that you are doing this person a fantastic favor to help them find a better position for themselves.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm hearing in all of this process, Mike, is that it's actually putting the candidate's preferences at the center of a lot of what's happening in the decision making. And that's something it can be really easy to forget, is that hiring someone, the whole process is bi-directional.
Hmm.
that great candidates are also interviewing you. You know, they're trying to determine, is this a good fit for me?
Yes.
And even if they aren't doing that, you know, in their full consciousness, that is part of the whole process. That and when employers forget that this isn't just about I want someone good for me, it's also I want to be good for someone.
Hmm.
Um, when they forget that, you end up with messy hiring,
Hmm.
bad choices. I think I want to highlight something you talked about, that systemization.
Yes.
That is a key thing. And even if you don't have, you know, a fancy developed software system for it, a manager who's hiring even just a few times a year, working with your HR, your talent acquisition and recruitment teams, you can create a system for yourself
Hmm.
that does take some of the administrative burden off and ensures that you've got consistency in your practice. So
Right.
even a checklist,
Hmm.
if it can be as simple as that, I think that's a really important takeaway. You were in a position to be able to build something expansive and thorough,
Hmm.
but even in a small shop, that's creating a system for yourself can really make a difference.
Yeah, and that also helps with removing emotion from the equation. I think that for our clients, and so many of them tend to be doctors,
Mm-hmm.
the the emotion removal component is enormous.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is when you're a doctor, you're trying to, by your very nature in healthcare practices, you're trying to fix people. You're trying to cure them, treat them, improve them,
Yes.
help them up. That's the whole MO of being a doctor. I mean, that's why you do it. So when you have these folks in front of you that are randomly picked from a pile on your desk because your Harry Potter wand isn't available,
Yep.
then you've got people in front of you in an interview that, especially because they're entry level people, are generally are intimidated at some level.
Mm-hmm.
They are all going to tell you what you want to hear because that
Mm-hmm.
car payment waits for no woman or no man.
Yeah.
That rent payment is due.
People
They
have
will
bills to
tell you
pay. Yeah.
they have bills to pay. They got kids that are hungry. They have incredible financial pressure on them. You will
Mm-hmm.
hear whatever you think you need to hear. What they think you need to hear, I should say, and and that's where the wheels fall off. Um, so many times I've seen doctors. Well, this person, oh, they'd be fantastic. They just need a chance. Okay, that's going to be right occasionally.
Yeah.
You're going to roll the dice, and you'll be right flat out occasionally, and you're going to be wrong the vast majority of the time. In in a small business, you need to hire performers. And if you want to help people up, if you want to do all that, then bless you. You're that's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. But you will not build a high performing team.
Well, I do think there's a place because the folks that have that heart of they just need a chance. Yeah,
Hmm.
some people do just need a chance. And if you are able to take that risk as an employer, wonderful. But to your point, your client base are primarily small business owners. And the cost benefit, if you
Hmm.
will, it's a tighter margin for people. And
Well,
this idea that
yes.
talent attracts talent
Oh, it sure
is
does.
so important.
And I'll flip this all around. We give
Mm-hmm.
people chances all day long. It's part
Yeah.
of our approach. They're not coming in with experience.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that from a resume based approach. There's no way in heck you would ever
Mm.
go near these folks. So this is what we do. We give people a chance. And
Yeah.
here's the world's biggest caveat: they're worth it.
Yes.
Why are they worth it? Because we know a tremendous amount about them. We know that they are a terrific fit for the position. We know that they're going to show up on Monday morning. First of all, they're going to show up. Let's face
Yes.
that. That's a win right there. And they're
Yeah.
going to bring these talents with them that they're going to do a fantastic job. They're not coming in with experience, and you're like, oh my goodness, well now I have to train them. Well, you have to train anybody who comes in, but guess what? You don't
Right.
have to do. You don't have to untrain the bad habits because they don't have them.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there with the person saying, well, I know you used to do it at your previous job this way, but we don't do it that way.
Yeah.
You're not having those discussions. And when you add all this stuff up, it becomes an approach that is so vastly more successful than resume-based regular interview hiring that we just don't see people going back.
Yeah.
It's a difference between trying to hire or trying to work with the lights on versus working in pitch black. It's really that big of a difference.
Yeah. I love the focus on entry level roles because it really is marathon thinking. It's a long-term strategy. Most entry-level people aren't going to stay with you for decades.
Of course, yeah.
Which is great. But what you're doing is preparing that workforce for their next level job.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had a positive experience as a candidate. They've learned about themselves. They've been managed based on what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go to something that does require more experience, more resume, they're better able to do that assimilation into the new organization or the new role.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, whether you've intended it to or not, there's kind of this social shift that's possible with an approach like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah. And we see this in our client practices in a very measurable, demonstrable way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the net income.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plain and simply.
People that are engaged, energized, working to the top of their skill set, giving clear direction and good structure around them, there's not much that type of team can accomplish.
I think you hit the nail on the head with a clear direction there.
Mm-hmm.
So many small business owners, and I used to be a card-carrying member of this club, would focus on, you've got people, they're not good at what they do. Therefore, your job as an owner is to be a professional kindergarten teacher and a professional cat herder. And of course, the third role is a spoon feeder.
Yeah.
You have to micromanage these people. You have to look. If any of those couple things are ringing true, we're here to help. Shameless plug, because your focus is in the exact wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ever, and this is a definitive statement that is just mandatory to stick in your head. You can never micromanage A players.
No,
they will be gone before you get the sentence out of your mouth.
You're not going to improve. I'm going to admit I get a little uncomfortable with language like A players, B players, just because it feels like categorizing. But I also am in the business of talking about top talent. So let me acknowledge my hypocrisy and say that.
Well, I can also say.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you finish. I'm just. I'm one of these passionate people that can't shut up.
No, I love it. I love it. It makes for a good conversation. But micromanaging isn't going to turn anyone into a great performer. In fact, it's at the end of the day, it's going to make you as a manager a worse performer because you're doing everybody else's job and not your own. Mm-hmm. So that approach is never going to improve performance in a sustainable way. So
exactly. And as far as the categorization, remember, this is all relative.
Yeah.
So I've seen incredible examples of the same person in two different roles within a business. One, the person almost got fired, and the other role within the business, the person is perfect for. Mm-hmm. What's the difference? Well, it's the same person.
Yeah.
Same business. The difference is what was required out of the person. And job number one, where that person almost got fired, was asking that person to utilize none of their strengths.
Yeah.
It was a disaster. The second role was custom built for this person to utilize their strengths all day long. And that person is perfect. Yeah. And I don't use that word lightly. I wouldn't change a thing about their performance in that particular role. They are stupendous. You could study this franchise that role based upon the characteristics of this person. That's how incredible
Yeah.
they are at that role. So it all depends. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have folks who aren't this top tier talent, they're not performing as an A player, it's the fit.
Yeah.
Because I think, okay, there are going to be a couple exceptions to this, of course, but I think virtually everybody has the capability to really shine in a job role if they're in the right role for themselves.
Agreed. Yeah, there will be exceptions, but people aren't coming to work thinking, how can I do a horrible job today? When somebody is struggling, it's not necessarily about the person, and we have to hold back on that immediate judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, what's wrong with them? Nothing. They're human. So one, they may sometimes make mistakes or not do their best.
Right.
Two, what about this work is not tapping into their best potential?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I support them in doing better? Do they need different structure? Do they need different tools? Do they need additional training?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to change my expectations as a
Mm-hmm.
leader? I appreciate where we've kind of gone here because it's keeping that focus on what does the work require. And it doesn't mean that someone is worthless because they can't complete the work. It's that we've not matched well. I think what I want to do is kind of get us change directions just a little bit in the time that we have remaining.
Yeah.
We've talked extensively about kind of the fit and performance factors going into hiring, but I've got a new person on my team now. How do I continue to assess their strengths on the job?
Mm-hmm.
Curious what practices you think support that.
Well, from our standpoint, our assessments are done pre-hire.
Okay.
And we do have a service that we offer to clients where they can assess existing team members and determine what their strengths are and what their natural strengths and talents are. The main thing is what's easy for the person in the role.
Mm-hmm.
What are they really excelling at right out of the gate? And you look to focus more of their time and effort on what they're naturally good at. There's this saying attributed to, I think it's Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. You want to have extremely strong, like outstanding strengths, but you can't spend any time on having outstanding weaknesses. You're just not going to turn these weaknesses into strengths. Some leaders try and fall in love with that, like they're trying to convert these people from being weak at certain things to being strong at certain things. I mean, sometimes you can do that through training and such, but you're not going to make wholesale shifts in a person. Instead, put them in a role that is designed to utilize their strengths.
I think that's a really good initial mindset, is not everyone is going to be great at everything. That's why we have to have teams of people. That's why we can't do things on our own. So knowing strengths, knowing the weaknesses and blind spots as well, lets you craft that team to cover all bases.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's something that you just have to be cognizant of as you're leading these teams, that you really want to focus on that, because it's the lever that lifts everything within the business. You're going to have team members looking at these problems differently than you would as a leader. They're going to look in a more granular way because they're at the level they're at, and you as a leader at the level you're at. It's very few leaders can go from the top of the organization all the way down to the bottom into the weeds and back again. There's hardly any that can do that.
There's a practice that had a lot of popularity in hospitals over the last probably 20 years. That was part of this larger framework put together by Quint Studer and his business. It's this idea of high, middle, low conversations. You do that categorization. Who are my high performers, my middle, and my low performers? And then there's a structured conversation, almost like an agenda for how to talk to each level. there are pluses and minuses to a practice like this, but something I always appreciated about it was the ultimate goal was not to make everyone a high performer. The ultimate goal was to raise performance across the board.
Mm-hmm.
That you wanted to help high performers sustain or, one, to recognize that we know you're doing a great job, we appreciate it, and we want you to stay engaged. Middle performers, help them get better at doing what they do well, and low performers, to help lift them, or if necessary, to manage them out.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need everyone to be top of the top. This is very similar in my mind to the above and beyond conversation. What we need is for people to get results as outlined in their job description.
Yes.
And recognizing that some of us do some things well, others of us struggle with things, and getting people plugged in to where they're good, or minimizing their exposure to what they're not great at, helps everyone raise that bar. Yeah. And it's another thing I appreciate it is it's not saying, well, if you don't like doing something, you have permission to not do it.
Of course not.
Of course there'll be parts of our job we may not enjoy. Work is work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if the majority of your time is spent doing work that aligns with your preferences, your abilities, and your strengths, it's going to make the other parts less onerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen an organization where they encouraged at the leadership level their team members to switch tasks from one to another.
Oh.
Of course, they had to notify the managers that this was happening.
Okay.
But, here's something that I don't like doing, hand it off to somebody who can't wait to do it. And, as a leader, you say, really?
Uh-huh.
People love to do stuff that I can't stand doing. Oh, it happens all the time. Absolutely, positively.
Yeah.
I've seen that in practice, in healthcare practice, how, I personally really don't like paperwork, forms, any of that stuff, and have a team of people who just chew through those things all day long.
Uh-huh.
Well, I couldn't do that with flaming bamboo under my fingernails. I just lose the fingers. But hey, if I lost the fingers, I wouldn't have to do the form. So plus, right? But on their side of things, they turn around and they're like, this is great. Yeah. I have such a sense of accomplishment when I've done this. Mm-hmm. And it really took a long time and some more maturity on my side as a leader to look at that and say, okay, that's a thing, first of all. And then let's find as many of these different trades as we can do so that everybody's really working on stuff they love to do. Mm-hmm. And boy, if you can achieve this, you'll be shocked at how incredibly high performing your team can become.
Well, think about how empowering that is. I mean, that's what I think about, that a small team is going to kind of self-police. So it's not like everything's going to get dumped on one person or people are going to shirk their work. It's, I'm giving you all the agency to determine how does this set of work get accomplished. Mm-hmm. The goal is to accomplish the stuff. How you go about it, you can figure it out. I'm here to support you.
It works great. Yeah, it works absolutely great.
I can see that there might be certain circumstances where it's not appropriate. Mm-hmm. There always will be. The it depends portion of things. But as a general practice, having that ongoing dialogue about, hey, I'll take this set of work. Will you do this other stuff? I mean, I can think in my own marriage, there are things my husband likes to do and things I don't. And we do this natural division of labor. Mm-hmm. But the goal is to keep our household functioning.
Exactly. And, most people in long-term marriages figure that out whether they want to or not, right?
Right. Right. And work is not marriage, but there are definitely lessons to be learned about relationship management. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. So, even the best, hiring model and
Mhm.
practice system will sometimes result in a bad hire.
Yes.
So, how can leaders stay focused on strengths still in these cases, even if it does result in someone leaving the organization?
So what I've done in the past that worked really, really well is, a person leaves your organization or is helped out or however they exit is kind of immaterial to this. But
Mm-hmm.
when they exit, you make a list of all of the things you loved about that person in the role
Mm,
and opportunities for improvement.
okay.
And then we encourage our clients to do this. So, what do you love about the person? What do you wish that they were better at? Give us that feedback because feedback all wins.
Mm-hmm.
And then we strive to find a person who does more of what you loved and um, more of what you wanted them to be able to do in addition to that. And so you
Mm-hmm.
end up just getting better and better. It is, and this is going to sound a little cold-hearted perhaps, but it is an opportunity for improvement as soon as somebody says they're going to leave your organization.
Mm-hmm.
You have a rock solid opportunity to fill that position with somebody even better than you had before.
Yeah. Well,
When you maintain them,
it's
yeah.
always an opportunity for improvement. Even if your top performer leaves, it's a
Mhm.
chance to say, let me look at the makeup of my team.
Mhm. Yeah, because team makeup changes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with people. There's not a darn thing about this that's static.
Right.
Everything's in play and moving all day long.
Mm-hmm.
So when you approach it like that with an opportunity for improvement, instead of looking at the negatives of, oh my goodness, somebody's leaving, well, what our clients do is they just call us or email, well, they contact us, send an email. Hey, we need a new person for this role. Hop on the phone, clarify it a little bit, and then within hours, your job ad is live, and you're off. You're
Mm-hmm.
automatically moving forward to get these candidates.
Off to the races.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when we talk about hiring, the other side of that coin is when people transition
Right.
either out of your team or out of your organization. And I've been in some LinkedIn conversations recently about the right ways to respond when people depart and the not
Mm-hmm.
so good ways. And I think I think this is another leadership mindset that is so important, that you have to celebrate when somebody leaves,
Mm-hmm.
that you see it either as you know what, they're no longer working a job that doesn't fit them well. Worst case
Mm-hmm.
scenario, right?
Right.
And that's good for them and it's good for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity for me to reinvent things, which can be a little scary and dicey, but continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And if you view someone leaving not as a betrayal, but as a following their strength,
Mm-hmm.
it changes that dynamic. And if you're talking about strengths continuously, if you're talking about these are the key performance factors and we want you to be fit with them, there aren't going to be surprises.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be aware when people are struggling or not satisfied or searching for new things. And
Yes.
it's all without blame then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific way to approach it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there kind of becomes this, the way I hire needs to be mirrored, echoed in what happens when people leave.
Yeah. And it's an overwhelming concept to some people,
Mm-hmm.
but on the other hand, once you systematize this approach and you just start living your work life in this way, that overwhelm disappears and you start to see results
Mm-hmm.
that you've been struggling for years and years.
Because I'm curious about it, what type of changes did you see in turnover as you operationalized this approach?
Well, my team did most of this.
Okay.
So what we saw is, to start out with, at the practice, uh, we had. I mean, this was back in probably about 5 years ago now when this
Okay.
first started.
Oh, well.
But we had most of the wrong people on the team. They were just not in the right roles. They're great people. It
Mhm.
just wasn't, they weren't working in their strengths and talents because, of course, we were using the resume approach.
Yeah.
And so we got these people using that fellow you mentioned. I mean, my ops manager had a spreadsheet because, of course, it was a spreadsheet, and it had green, yellow, red on it
Yep.
beside each person. The red, those folks were replaced. There was nothing we were going to do to be able to help them be great at their jobs. They were just working in the wrong role. They were helped into other positions, and we found folks that were utilizing their strengths. So the red were replaced, then the yellow were replaced, and sometimes green went to yellow and yellow went to green,
Mm-hmm.
because of course we're dealing with people. We ended up with a net income bordering on 3 times what we were making before,
Oh, wow.
while having 4 less people on the team.
Oh, wow. Wow. Those
Yes,
are phenomenal results.
phenomenal. I mean, so if somebody would have told me that they had the Harry Potter magic wand to make those results happen, I wouldn't have believed a word out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
not possible. You're over promising. You're over everything. Well, that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened in the span of about 18 months.
Oh, wow. That's very fast too.
Extremely so. Now, keep in mind the person who was in charge of this, not myself, but the person who was in charge of this did an absolutely bang up, fantastic job.
Yeah.
And that combined with having the build my team as the tool, the magic tool to find these people based upon their strengths and talents, it was a match that just produced incredible results.
That is case study material. It just is. There's no other way to look at that.
Right.
Yeah. So I know that you focus primarily on physician practices, but I'm guessing my listeners have a very similar question. Do you have any plans to extend beyond the medical field?
We do now.
Okay.
I mean that. So, what makes a physician practice unique? Well, look, if you talk to the doctor that owns it, of course, it's unique. From
Yes.
our perspective, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they're probably right, but so are we at the same time. Almost all small businesses share a massive amount of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you're in a small business where you need somebody to function in, let's say, a receptionist or secretarial role, we do that better than virtually anybody.
Yeah.
We have that so dialed because medical secretaries might have traffic counts past their desk of 100 people in person while dealing with 1 to 200 phone calls during the course of the day. And I challenge the owner of the business to do that job for 8 hours and still be able to get out of the chair without an ambulance coming for them.
Yeah.
So it's at a whole nother level that these people are capable of doing what they do. Also, things like bookkeeping. It doesn't matter what business you have. Bookkeepers are extremely similar across all businesses. Assistants, like assistants to the doctor, can be assistants to the owner and other businesses. These are all super similar.
Yeah.
So what, do we focus on healthcare? Most of our clients are from healthcare. Eye care and dentistry are the 2 biggest that we work in, but we have healthcare clients in 9 different healthcare professions.
That's wonderful.
And then outside of healthcare, it's anytime you have a systematized position where you know exactly who you're looking for, that's where we shine, because we can systematize all that stuff. And one shameless plug I'll say is this system that we've developed is not expensive by any means. It's incredibly affordable, primarily because it's highly automated.
Okay.
So they're all scenarios for our clients. It's radically less than what they're spending themselves to do it.
Well, that's
with
the other
vastly
thing.
better results.
Yeah. Hiring. So many of the costs are kind of hidden that it's easy to forget how expensive it is to hire and onboard new people. The time alone, the amount of time that you spend as a leader filling a vacancy, it adds up very fast. So finding anything that can shorten the time to fill is going to hit your bottom line.
Yes.
Yeah.
In ways you can't easily predict
Uh-huh.
as well. That's what the big learning was for me. Um, how does this much better team make the business so much more money? And that was a question that it would take a whole nother podcast to answer. It's
Yes.
not just an easy, but the point is the money was made. It wasn't a one-time thing. It's repetitive. And what I found out is that our client businesses are operating with an amount, like a percentage of profit that is so vastly repressed, it's really upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
What you can get out of your small business when you have an A plus team or a B plus team is shocking.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely shocking.
Yeah. Well, productivity, it matters. And that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about. It's all of this is within a business context. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to pay attention to profit at the end of the day. You've got to balance it with the people needs, but it's business. And creating the most productive, engaged team as possible is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And why wouldn't we start with, well, this is what people like to do and they do well? Everything we've talked about feels like, well, this just makes sense.
The thing is, Kate, you got to start somewhere.
Yes.
Right. So why pick a place that is Greek to a candidate when you can pick a place and meet them where they're at?
Mm-hmm.
The key point is being able to figure out where they're at. And that's what Build My Team does.
Yeah.
If for the right candidate, of which let's remember, almost none of them are the right candidate, but we can identify those right candidates and bring them to your business and get them in your business and productive incredibly quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
there's kind of two things I wanted to mention.
Yes, please.
One is the concept of finding the right needle in a stack of needles. We are not finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
It's really the right needle in the stack of needles. And the other is that this has to be experienced to be kind of believed. But when you have these team members operating at this level, their focus is performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not standing by the water cooler gossiping. It's not, oh, wow, Kate, you changed your hair. It's not, oh, wow, Dr. Mike, you changed your hair. Right? It's about performance.
Yeah.
I've got X number of hours in the day. I'm expected to do these things. I'm not going to just do what I'm expected to do. I'm going to knock it out of the park. And that's the type of person you get. So the reason I bring that up is what it does is it removes the managerial burden, like I said earlier, where you're no longer a spoon feeder, you're no longer a cat herder, and you're promoted to college level from the kindergarten teacher. That allows you as an owner to actually enjoy your job again.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you remember those days when you actually enjoyed what you did?
I enjoy those days right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm a small business owner who has crafted the job for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what, I mean, people get into business for themselves for freedom. Mm-hmm. And what you end up when you have those three awful roles of cat herder, kindergarten teacher, and spoon feeder, what freedom do you have? You can't even spell the word. No, because by the time you FR, then you're on to putting a fire out.
Yes.
Right? You become a professional firefighter. And in some ways, you're also a professional arsonist because you never have time to stop putting those fires out and plan for the things that get the team to be able to operate on their own.
Well, interestingly, the vast majority of firefighters' time is spent in fire prevention.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we really want to turn our attention to. Go ahead and be a firefighter on the job and recognize that putting out fires should be a de minimis portion of it.
Right.
That prevention and education are actually the focus. So
exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Good. Well, sir, this has been, despite all the technical difficulties, this has been a wonderful conversation.
Oh, same. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. I like to typically close asking my guest if guests if they have any final thoughts for the conversation.
I think that from my perspective, when you're doing hiring in your small business, it feels hopeless. You're getting the same awful results over and over again. You hear a guy on a podcast talk about how great it can be, but it's probably sales pitchy, probably not true, that type of thing. That might be the case. The other side of it is, what if it's not the case? Mm-hmm. What if we can deliver these results? Like I say, we're doing it for our clients. What if that could happen for your business too? Yeah. And what if you can afford it? So those are some things I would ask your listeners to think about. If you're interested in a little more than just thinking about it, you want to reach out, go to buildmyteam.com, schedule a consultation. Everything we do is by schedule so that it respects your time as a small business owner. And we will very rapidly figure out if we can help you. If the answer is no, we'll do what we can to refer you to somebody who can help you. If the answer is yes, then buckle up, because we're going to move very quickly to help your business achieve the stuff that I've been talking about in this podcast.
I think for listeners that aren't in that setting, there are some really great takeaways too. Again, systematizing your approach, focusing on what the job requires, matching people's strengths to that job requirement. Again, thank you, Dr. Mike. I've really appreciated your time.
Thank you so much, Kate. This was fun.
Oh, good. Love hearing that. Thank you for joining me today. If this conversation sparked something useful, please follow the Comfy Chairs and leave a review. Those small actions help more people find the show. Got a leadership question you'd like featured in a future Comfy HQ episode? Please send it my way. I'd love to hear what's on your mind. And when you're ready to move from ideas into action, 123 Limited helps leaders build stronger teams, sharper strategies, and better talent plans. Learn more at 123limited.com. That's ONE23LTD.com. Thanks for listening.